How far away is your dream life? Most people, when they're thinking about what they really, really want, and Aristotle, by the way, calls that final cause. Final cause is the thing that's driving all else. There are means goals and there are ends goals. Final cause is about the end that's driving the means. Now, in this video, I'm going to explain to you why most people never actually get what they ultimately want because they're too busy seeking the means that they think will eventually get them to the what they want, and what you excessively think about. What you think about and the goals you're striving for ultimately drive what you want. And because most people are going for meanses rather than the end, because they feel the end is too far away and ultimately they don't feel like they're worthy of the end, they feel like they have to achieve all these meanses first to pre-qualify them so that eventually they will be worthy to have that end. They end up spending their whole lives seeking meanses rather than going directly to the end. The primary reason for this is because you might even be able to conceptualize what you ultimately want, but emotionally you don't feel worthy of it. There's a great quote from Dr. David Hawkins. He says, your unconscious will only allow you to have what you believe you deserve. Another way of saying this is you will only allow yourself to receive what you believe you deserve, and also what you progressively think about. Most people's thought process and their emotions are built around their current context and their current life. They're mostly just thinking about what they have, and so they're continuing to create more of what they already have. If you think about what you ultimately want, like the biggest desire, the goal, or whatever that you would love more than anything, you probably don't, first off, visualize it or think about it very much, but also emotionally, you probably don't feel like you deserve it or that you're willing or ready to accept it, allow it to happen in your life. And so then you start strategizing pathways, which is smart, ultimately means is that you think will eventually get you there. One way of looking at this is kind of the framework that they talk about, which is that most people think that they have to first have something that will allow them to do what they want, so then they can be who they want to be. Your final cause, the thing that you want more than anything, is you as a future self being in a certain way and doing what your future self would want you to do. But because it feels so far away, because it feels so distant to your current reality and to your current thoughts and feelings and emotions, you then think of meanses that you believe will eventually enable you or qualify you or prepare you for that. The problem is that because you're obsessing so much and focusing on the meanses and strategizing towards those, yes, you're ultimately getting those, but then you go from means to means to means to means to means, all the while you're never actually truly thinking about and becoming the end. You can spend a whole lifetime on meanses when, if you just started focusing on the end itself, whatever that is, if you just went directly to what you ultimately wanted, the goal is that you visualize it so much and emotionalize it so much. This is why it's suggested that you have gratitude and acceptance for what you want, but also for what you already have, and appreciating the good things in your life, because whatever you appreciate appreciates. There's a concept actually, and it's the opposite idea, but you can apply it in the same way in therapy. It's called systematic desensitization. And it's all about desensitizing yourself to something that you are afraid of. So for example, if a person has a phobia of heights or of spiders or of people of the opposite sex, whatever, the goal is that you actually start exposing yourself to it so much that you desensitize the negative emotions or the fearful emotions or the phobias that you have, so that eventually you're no longer afraid of it. You can, rather than being utterly terrified of, for example, driving, you get in the car, you start to desensitize yourself to it. This is kind of like jumping in the pool. Like, you have to acclimate yourself to it, but eventually you neutralize the emotions so that it's no longer something that you have huge emotional reactions to, but it's, you can get to the point where you're holding a spider, for example. The same concept is true of your end, your final cause, the thing that you really want. And so if you start visualizing it more, the goal is that rather than it feeling so far away and so alien to your current self, that you emotionalize it so much and you think about it and you feel great about it, and you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, using the language of Neville Goddard, but you visualize it, you think about it, you see it, and then you start to accept it, allow it into your life, that eventually it starts to feel like the next logical step from where you're at. It doesn't matter how nonlinear or how quantum it feels different from your current self. The reason it feels different is mostly because of how you're thinking about it and how you feel about it. You don't believe emotionally that you deserve it. And so by simply feeling it, feeling grateful for it, but also feeling grateful for what you have in your life, gratitude is a powerful fact of this. And then you give yourself time. There's something very important about giving yourself time to think, to meditate, to visualize, to pray. Go on walks, be in your journal, read good books, positive inputs, being in a state of visualization, acceptance, feeling good, that eventually you neutralize the lack of acceptance or the lack of allowance of that in your life, you start to neutralize the feeling of unworthy about it. And eventually you get to a point where it genuinely does feel like the next logical step for you. This is where you start being and doing what your future self would do so that eventually you can have what your future self would have. So this is just a beautiful, powerful place to be. First off, it's the acknowledgement that if you feel like what you want is really far away, like so far away that you can't even kind of fathom it and you don't spend much time thinking about it, and you actually have feelings of it not being in your life, but also feelings of it's really far away and feelings of I'm not worthy for that yet, or I'm not ready for that yet, or whatever feelings you have of resistance towards that leads you then to means goals that you think will eventually qualify you for that. You got to ask yourself, where are those means coming from? This is what leads people to general corporate ladders or just living along the lines of what most people do. You don't have to live your life with the same patterns as other people. You get to meditate on, visualize your future self. Whatever you focus on expands, get to think about that. Psychologists call it selective attention. And then you evolve your emotions around it so that there's less of a resistance emotion towards it, but more an acceptance emotion, an allowance emotion. The point is that you want to neutralize and feel acceptance of it, gratitude of it. And from that place, you'll then start to have really powerful thoughts and meditate on and feel powerful action so that you're being from the goal rather than being towards the goal. And so that your thoughts are more directed at what you ultimately want rather than obsessively directed at the meanses that you think will eventually pre-qualify you to get there. Rather than spending your whole life focused on means goals, which you will ultimately achieve, means goal to means goal to means goal to means goal, but never actually achieving the end, why not focus your energy and direct your attention and your thoughts on what you ultimately want, and then working on feeling worthy of it, ultimately feeling grateful for it and accepting it and allowing it into your life. That then can pull the distance of it from it feeling in a different galaxy to actually it feeling like the literal next logical step to where you're at. You can do this. You absolutely can do this. And even me, myself today, I took the time today to just walk, to meditate, to journal, and to visualize and to think about what is my final cause? What is the thing that I truly want? That's the thing that I want, which maybe a lot of my other behaviors are just me attempting stepping stones that I think along the way will make me worthy, when it's really about me feeling that that is actually who I am, what I am, and what I want. And that if I just visualize on it, meditate on it, think about it, even pray for it, write about it, and feel allowance of it in my life and acceptance of it, that I neutralize this distance. Similar to how you could systematically desensitize yourself to something you don't want, you could also systematically, I guess you could say, align yourself with what you feel you really want, but you don't feel worthy of, or that you feel is so far away that's going to take you 10 or 20 years. And so if you just go straight at what you want and think about it, meditate on it, and emotionally accept it, you can skip all of the meanses and you can non-linearly and more directly go towards what you want, rather than spending years or decades trying to pre-qualify yourself in ways that there are no guarantees. Whatever you're focusing on, you're creating more of. And so maybe stop obsessing on the meanses and strategizing and building your life around the meanses so that eventually you feel like you can be worthy of it, to going more direct towards what you want, meditating on it and bringing it to an emotional place where it is who you already are, and you accept that it's what you have. You can accept it without being attached to it, and you accept it in a really beautiful, powerful place. And eventually it just feels natural to who you are and what you're doing. And it feels exactly like the next step in where you're going. You've now made something that's a mountain into it's your next step. Hope that helps. My name is Dr. Benjamin Hardy, helping you become and be your best future self now. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and please share this with your friends. Have an amazing day.